TikTok. This is amazing. Oh my god. 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 Hello, hello, hello. Hi. So I'm gonna be looking back and forth. Because I'm alive on TikTok and I'm alive on Facebook. So I'm gonna be looking back and forth. But hi, my name is Abiola Makonjola. My mic is somewhere here, and I hope that I'm loud enough. I hope you can hear my voice enough. My name is Abiola Makonjola, and welcome to Thrive with God, where we have conversations that help you build your identity by speaking with God, so you can be who He set you apart to be. And I hope you're having an amazing time in the world. I hope you're having an amazing Sunday. It's currently 4:46 p.m. where I'm at. Let me know where you are. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know where you're watching from. If you're currently watching this live video, or you're going to be watching the replay. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about identity. I wanted to just get into the meat of identity, or like just having the conversation about, hi Alex, thank you for joining, just having the conversation about identity and what it is and what prompted me to even begin to have this conversation about identity. So in the last, I would say, year, I have really been on a journey where I had to, I've had to, I've had to really solidify my identity. I've had to really define who I am. Away from my role as a mother, away from my role as somebody who works or who earns money or whatever the case is, away from people, somebody who has relationships with other people, family, whatever the case is. I've had to really hone into my identity. I've had to really define who I am at my core, and I feel like that's something that the world needs. Like, who are you when things are not there? Who are you when the degree is not there, when education isn't there? Who are you when the money isn't there or the job isn't there? Who are you when all of those things leave? Like, who are you at your core? It's interesting. I asked somebody that question over this past weekend, and the person was like, "Oh well, I'm nobody. I'm lifeless. Like, all of these things exist. I exist because all of these other things exist." And the way that I, it says notification detected. What notification? End live now to avoid some violation. What am I violating? Bruh. I don't know what I'm violating. I'm lost. But anywho, I don't know what I'm violating on TikTok. I'm lost. But anywho, I asked somebody that question this past weekend, like, who are you where if your children are not there anymore? And what I mean, like, I don't necessarily mean that they're dead, but like, your children grow up and they move out of the house, they're not there for, like, they're now raising themselves or they're now doing their own thing, or and you don't have this job anymore. You're not, like, who are you? Who are you really? And I feel like a lot of people, we need to sit and we need to ask ourselves that question, like, who am I when everything is gone? And that's something that a lot of people do not necessarily that's something that I feel like we do not necessarily ask ourselves. The world is full of so many distractions. The world is full of so much noise. It's like from our phones every day to social media to somebody doing something interesting on the internet, which I'm up for it. However, it's like all of these distractions to even the point where we are not even able to think for ourselves anymore. We now have artificial intelligence, aka AI, which is good in its sense. It's not bad at all. However, it's now starting to replace that human connection. It's now starting to replace that part where human beings are supposed to be thinking for themselves, are supposed to be doing things for themselves. AI is now starting to replace all of those things. So we live in a world where there's just so many distractions, so many noise that people don't necessarily know what their identity is or what they're rooted in. People are confused. There's a trend going on, everybody jumps on that trend, and then maybe your video goes viral, and then all of a sudden now your identity is attached to the virality of that video. And then what happens when the audience dies down? What happens when the audience isn't there anymore? What happens when um, that fame isn't there anymore? This is why we hear people cases of depression. Like, you hear people who, like, stinkingly rich, they're stinkingly rich, but then again, that sense of identity is missing. That sense of purpose is missing. They don't know who they are. A lot of times you find, like, you hear, oh, they committed suicide, like, somebody, I mean, I don't want to mention anybody's name or any famous person's name that has passed. However, it's just crazy that when you think about it, you can't put it together, because you're like, this person was so rich. What's the reason why they committed suicide? What's the reason why they took their own lives? And I would like to believe that identity plays a huge role in that. That loss of self, that loss of identity, that loss of not knowing who you are, that loss of connection, that loss of not knowing who you are at your core. So today, what I just wanted to get us started with, is just, starting to open up that conversation of who we really are. Who are you at your core? It's just starting to have that conversation, starting to open up that conversation, starting to have that conversation with yourself. For me, I've had to have that conversation with God. I've had to have that conversation with myself. I've had to develop I've had to get used to asking questions, as that's something that I'm still doing, because in a lot of ways, for me, my identity was rooted in a lot of things that was not that allowed that caused me to be in misalignment with purpose and with what it is that I was really supposed to be doing here on earth. I thought, getting all the degrees, all these fancy degrees, get a degree in projects management, get a degree in health. People will tell you, oh, go into the health field. Yes, it's gonna work. Boom, boom, power. Let's do that. Or people will tell you, project management, scrum master is gonna work. You do that, boom, boom, power. Oh yeah, let's do that. So that was what it was for me. Education was like that way. I'm like, okay, I need to be able to get all the degrees that I can to make sure that I can get a 6, 7 figure, 8 figure job in order for me to be able to be a part of society. But that did not work. And then there's identity rooted in getting married. Oh, I just want to get married. I just want to have a man, and then that way society is gonna accept me. I'm gonna get this kind of validation. I'm going to get this kind of validation or this sort of validation. But then again, guess what? That did not work either. Or let me get this house, or let me get this car, or let me get this 6 figure paying job. Like, my identity was rooted in a whole lot of things but myself. Because guess what? When all of those things left, when all of those things were not there, when it was just me by myself, just sitting by myself, I still felt this void. I still felt this void inside of me, like this false identity, these things that were not true about me. And I didn't know how to move past that in order to believe things that were true. And also, the environment that I grew up in, the things that I saw people do didn't necessarily help, because I was striving to be like these people. I wanted to be like these people. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be married. I wanted to have such a good job. I wanted this and I wanted that. But the more that I tried, the more that the more that I kept chasing these false identities, the more that it just continued to cause me to be in misalignment with my purpose, until I got to the point where I had to just take a breather, and I had to just, like, stop. I couldn't continue anymore. I felt stuck. I felt unseen. I felt unseen is not even the word, but I felt stuck. I felt like I couldn't go further than where I currently was. I felt like I couldn't make any more moves because I tried so many things and I had exhausted all my moves. I didn't know what to do. I felt like there was a force pulling me towards something different. I felt like there was something inviting me into something else. However, I didn't know. I was scared. Fear gripped me so much. I was scared because I wasn't sure what this thing that I was being invited into. I'm like, it's like this unseen thing. You can't see, but you can feel it, that there's something inviting you, like you're being invited into something bigger than what you're currently settling for. But then you can't see it, but then it needs your yes. It requires your yes in order for you to be able to move into the right direction. It felt like I was fighting two voices at the same time, where one is just saying, just stop and just take a breath, and the other one is like, no, you need to go, 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 go. It felt like I had to be away from the noise. I had to be away from the distraction. I had to be away from the hustle and bustle. This thing that we've created in our minds, oh, you have to hustle, hustle, hustle hard, hustle hard, hustle hard. It just felt like I had to be away from all of that. It felt like I had to stop doing things pretending to be busy, and I just had to be. Because it's one thing for you to be busy, and it's another thing for you to be productive. Being busy doesn't necessarily mean that you're being productive. And I was one of those people who would fill my day with so many activities, just so I could get that validation to be like, oh, I did something today. Oh yeah, I did, like, my day was filled up today. But then, was I really doing anything? Was I really being productive? Was I really doing things that will yield something positive? Right? So like it just felt like all of these things, and in that moment I knew that I had to stop. And really the thing that really shaped it for me, or that really shifted it for me, was when I had lost my job. So this was back in 2024 of April, about a year and several months ago now. I lost my job, and I don't not my job, because it wasn't my job, it was the job that I had. I lost that job, and prior to that I knew that the job wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily work in that job for a very long period of time, but it was okay in during the time being. It was paying the bills, it was doing what it was supposed to do. But anyways, I had said a prayer. I remember saying a prayer to God, and I said, God, whatever it is that is not in your will for my life, I want you to take it away. Not knowing how deep of that prayer was, or not knowing the gravity of what it is that I was talking about, I said that prayer, and then several months later down the line, I was let go from that job. And the one thing that I heard was, you're not a good fit. And keep in mind, in 2023, I had gone through the same experience where I was let go from another job, and I also heard, you're not a good fit. So for me, the next things to do in that moment would have been for me to go out and start looking for another job. Like, okay, I just want to find a job. I just want to be able to pay my bills, because how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to eat? How am I going to feed my children? Like, how am I going to put a roof over our heads? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? But in that moment, that was where that feeling of being invited into something bigger, that was where it came. And I just knew that even though I couldn't see it, that I was being invited into something bigger that was going to help me really define who I was, that was really going to give me my true identity, and that was going to really help me define who I was set apart to be and who God created me to be. So in that moment, I was just like, okay, I really need to sit this one out, and I really need to figure out what's happening here. I really need to just sit with whatever it is that's happening. And that's really what prompted my journey with God. And prior to that, I had given my life to Christ in 2019. But I had done it on my own terms. I had done it the way that I thought it was supposed to be done. So I, study my Bible, do this, do that, go to church and all of that stuff. But I had not really, really, really gotten into a place where I allowed God to define me, to give me my own identity. I had not gotten to that place. I was still running on my own fuel. I was still running on my own assumptions. I was still running on my own. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. That's what I'm supposed to do. Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like, just still having that element of control, and still wanting to be in control one way or the other. So 2024 April, when that time came around, and that I was let go from work, and the way that it happened was so, like, it had to be divine, because I was working on a project. The project that I was working on wasn't supposed to expire, wasn't supposed to be done until this year, I believe, or maybe even next year. All of a sudden, the government just sent a notice and said they were going to cut the project short, like within a matter of 2 weeks. And I'm telling you, in a matter of like maybe 2 to 3 months, even after conversations with my bosses, and they're like, oh, we're going to take care of you, we're not going to leave you hanging, blah, 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 blah. I was let go. Somebody else was hired. I trained the person that was hired to take my position, and I was let go. But I knew that it was divine. I knew that it wasn't just, I knew there was something bigger that I was being called to. So, as much as it hurt, obviously that source of income isn't guaranteed anymore. I knew that there was something bigger. I knew that there was something else that I was being invited to, and I needed my yes to be able to get in there. So that really just birthed that whole journey of identity, and really letting go of all of these false identities that I had hung on to, that I had clung on to over the course of these years, and me now getting into this true place of into this place of true identity, and really truly figuring out and really determining who I am. So this is going to be broken down into different parts, and I'm just going to focus on the one short part today. It's going to be a short life too. I don't want to keep it too long. I'm actually writing a book about this that's going to go into more detail. It's currently in work, but I just thought, like, to come on here and to just have the conversation and to just start having this conversation, so at least we know that, okay, these are the things that I'm supposed to be doing. So if you're feeling like you're in that place where you're stuck, if you're feeling like you're in that place where you cannot go any further than where you currently are, if you're feeling like you can't make any more moves because you've tried so many things, you've exhausted all your moves, if you're just feeling like there's something calling you, there's something trying to get your attention, but you keep distracting yourself, you keep finding things to distract yourself, you keep going towards noise, and noise could be anything. It could be your phone, it could be your relationship that you're currently in right now, it could be any drug of choice, it could be women, it could be men, it could be Mary J. Okay. It could be anything, because everything is noise. Social media, everything is just wow, 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 and you can't really think, you know. So whatever it is, if there's anything that's currently distracting you, if there's anything that you are using to just pacify that inner feeling, that gut feeling, that pull, you know that you are in a place of crisis. And crisis, by definition, crisis is, let me just according to the Hebrew definition of crisis is, Hebrew is the root, or the meaning of Christ is the Hebrew word, and it means a birthing stool. It means something new is being born. So you are in a place where something new is about to be birthed, right? You're in a place where something new is about to be birthed. So you're in a definition of crisis. So I welcome you into this. So the one thing that, or the first thing that I want to encourage you to do is to just ask a simple question. And this goes thus: who am I? I just want you to ask that question. And you might be like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why would I? Who am I asking the question? Who am I? So we all have. Man is a tripartite being. We have the spirit, we have the soul, and we have the body. Our body just is the host. Our body just hosts our spirit. Our body hosts our soul, because man's soul is almost like, I'll call it like, it's like invincible. So in order for us to be able to exist, we need something to be able to host the soul. So our bodies host our soul, and then our spirit, which is the spirit that we've been given from God, which makes man the tripartite being. So if you're asking that question, or you're asking that question, you're saying it expecting to receive an answer. And because of the image, because of how you were created, because you were created in the image of God, you're going to receive an answer, because the earth responds to you, right? Because things respond. Like when we speak, they respond. When we speak to plants, it responds. When we speak to animals, they respond. When we speak to human beings, they respond. So it's an energy type thing, it's a force, there's something that's guiding us. And I believe in God, and this whole live, my channel, my page, everything is going to be talking about God, and really how we begin to find our identity in God, which really begins to shape who we are. And then as a result of that identity, we begin to do things, our actions take over, our actions take place, because now our identity is rooted in something that can never change. It's rooted in something that the standard is here and has been here since time, and it's going to be here forever. It's not rooted in a culture that says, oh, today this is okay, tomorrow that's not okay. It's not rooted in the market prices. It's not rooted in the price of whatever it is. It's not rooted in stocks. It's not rooted in how business is going. It's not rooted in the amount of children that we have. It's not rooted in the work that we do. It's not rooted in the validation that we get from people. It's rooted in God. And that remains the standard. That remains like the foundation. And then everything you do from there is like, okay, everything, or your actions, or the things that you do from there now sums up who you are, if that makes sense. So the first thing that we're going to be doing, and I'm going to encourage you to do, if you're watching this right now, you're watching the replay, is just ask the question, who am I? And I want you to stay still. I want you to just remain. When you ask that question, I want you to just remain, and I want you to just hear the answers that you're going to hear. I want you to just listen to those answers. Don't try to force an answer. Don't try to think about it in your head. Just ask, who am I? Or who do you say I am? Who am I? Who do you say I am? And just listen. I tell you, such a beautiful exercise. The other day I did it, and the things that I heard about myself, and I was just like, oh my goodness, me? Like, I'm bold, I am wise beyond my years, I'm pure, I am loving. And I'm like, me? Like, me? If you know what I've done in my life, if you know, like, a whole lot, like fornication, having two babies with two different men, having abortions, involved in adultery, what else? A whole lot of stuff. And I'm like, me, I'm bold, I'm pure, I'm loving, I'm like just all of these things. And while it might be hard to reconcile because those things don't look like what you're currently going through or who you are right now, I promise you there is an image of you that was created, that was intended to be when you came into this world. But unfortunately, the environment that you were born into, whatever it is, the circumstances that you were born into, the life, society, just everything that you're currently surrounded by probably did not live up to that image. So right now what we're doing is we're taking back our identity and we're allowing ourselves to live up to that image, to say, this is who I was born to be. This is who I was set apart to be. This is who I was created to be, and I will be just that. So the one thing that I want you to do, or the one assignment that I want you to do, if you're watching this right now or you're going to be watching the replay, is asking yourself the question, who am I? Who do you say I am? Who do you say I am? Who am I? And I just want you to be quiet and I just want you to listen. And whatever it is that you hear, I want you to write it down. And I'm going to tell you what we're going to do in the next live or the next time we meet. But for now, just ask that question, who am I? Who do you see I am? Write it down, and then we'll go from there. But anyways, I just wanted to say thank you for joining this live. It was such a short live too, but I just wanted to say thank you for joining this live. I didn't want this to be too long, or I didn't know how long it was going to be, but I just wanted to come on here and I just wanted to have this conversation, and I enjoyed myself. I hope you enjoyed listening as well. Thank you for everybody that joined on TikTok. I don't know half of the people that joined, but thank you for however many people are still on. I appreciate you. Thank you for the people that are going to be watching this live again. Thank you for my Facebook watchers as well. We are going to be back, and we're going to be talking about what we're going to do when we get the answer of who you are, or who you are described as, if that makes sense. Anywho, thanks so much. Have a wonderful day in the world. I love you.